Good day, everyone. It's John Abnes here, and it's been pleasure to speak to everybody. First up, I'd like to discuss or to give some discussion of for the raising awareness and coping natural hazards within our community. It's because why we do need to discuss this one because having an awareness on coping it on having an awareness on the natural hazards can build a safety, safe and sound on our community. Now, talking about natural hazards, here are some the natural hazards, which is the geological, the hydro, mythological, marine, and cultural hazards. And jumping in the definition of natural hazards. What is hazards or natural hazards? We mean that natural hazards are extreme natural events that can result in the loss of life, severe property damage, and disruption of human activities. Some natural disasters such as flood. The examples of natural disasters is the flooding that can only occur anywhere on our land. And the other examples of that is tornadoes. It only occurs in specific areas that only drop in for the wide area. Now, what are the examples or what the occurrences that we experience during the geological? We have here the earthquake. What are the occurrences that happens during an earthquake? We have here the ground shaking. What do we mean by ground shaking? It is the ground vibration brought on by seismic waves during an earthquake is a major factor in the partial or complete collapse of structures. For distinct waves, types travel through and over the surface of the Earth at varying speeds, arrive at a location local various times, and vibrate in a structure in various ways. And also, there are numerous shapes that landslide can take, or that earthquake can take, while other things can potentially cause them to happen. These sections focuses on brought by on brought by earthquakes. Landslide, there are the examples of it is the landslide and soil liquefaction. Now moving on for another or second example for the geological, and that is volcanic eruption. What are the things that we experience during the volcanic eruption? And one of that is tephra. What do we mean by tephra? Is a made up of rock pieces of all sizes and lava blobs of all shapes and sizes that are propelled into the atmosphere by the force of an eruption. As the materials in the atmosphere return to Earth, they build up to create deposits. And that is for the occurrences that we experience during the geological. Now, moving on for the hydrometeorological. What are the occurrences that we experience during the hydrometeorological hazards? We have here the tropical cyclone. Here are the examples of the tropical cyclones. We have here a flood. What are floods? An accumulation of water on our ordinary dry terrain. Water levels in dams and rivers rise as a result of the typhoon intense rainfall. The second one is we have storm surges, an unusual rise in sea level brought on by a storm, and it develops as a rise or result of a force of the winds flowing in a circular motion. Now, second one that we also experience during the hydromythological is monsoons. What do we mean by monsoons? When a precipitation levels are below average in a given location or region, a drought is declared. As a result of that, the dry season also delivers a clear sky and chilly mornings. That we experience during the monsoon. Now, moving on to the last one of the occurrences of or the happenings of the marine and coastal is the coastal erosion. Example of that, what do we mean by coastal erosion? It is the loss of coastal lands as a result of the net removal of sediments or bedrock from the shoreline. It's known as coastal erosion. In addition to the action of waves and currents, mass wasting processes on slopes and subsidence, particularly on muddy shores or other factors that, that contribute to coastal erosion. And the second examples that occurs or the occurrence of the marine coastal is the salt intrusion. What do we mean by saltwater intrusion? On the saltwater intrusion interfere as the line that separates freshwater and saltwater. And saltwater only move or cannot move inland because of freshwater that is discharged to the coast and a phenomenon known as saltwater intrusion that only occurs in the freshwater pump out of the aquifer system that's causing saltwater to flow landward, and that is for or that the occurrences during the marine and coastal. Now we move on to the safety precautions for geological, hydrometeorological, and marine and coastal. Here is the before, during, and after. For the before of geological, why making a group or creating a family or group plan or family group or earthquake plan. Why we should do some plan? It's because in order we ensure our safety, and we should know the routes that we stay and exit. Now, second one here is why we should understand the danger zones. Understanding danger zones only so why we should understand danger zone so we can have ideas where the earthquakes easily strikes. And yeah, that's it for the before. And during the occurrences of the earthquake, we should do the duck, cover, and hold, in which the meaning of that is to maintain your balance by lying down or crouching low. And second one of that during an occurrences is the understanding the exit routes. The second left before to the before one, so should know the exit route. Now, after that, after the occurrences of it, we should examine the building for cracks and damages. Why we need to examine the building for cracks and damages? It's because in order to repair or know the damages that earthquake been go. And for the last one is the listen for emergency radio. Why we need to listen to the radio? It's because for the important announcement that local authority will provide. Now, second one is for the hydrometeorological, the safety precautions of it. We have here the before creating a emergency kit for the injuries in our family. So we provide a emergency kit for the injuries. And second one is the consulting our local authorities. Why we need to consult our local authorities in able to know our safety and our safety, or in order we can evacuate or not. And during the occurrences of it, we should still listen to the local radio or television for the warnings and updates that we need to know during the occurrences of the typhoon or the cyclone or the storm. And lastly, for the occurrences during of it is the evacuating to public shelter. So we can ensure our safety by staying for the evacuation center or high ground. Now, after the occurrences of the storm, we should able to listen to local radio continuously. It's because in order to have an warnings and updates as well. Also, and now or don't go not going outside is because we should not going outside in order because we don't have any official announcement that local authorities should give. And going on for the marine and coastal safety precautions. Before that, you should locate the safe zone or the prone zones, the zones that we need to know, and prepare the critical information why we need to prepare an or in critical or important information. It's because to give some or to have information for the local authorities if we should stay or to evacuate in our coastal areas. Now, during the occurrences of the coastal erosion, the examples of it, we should determine the vulnerable areas. Why we need to determine the vulnerable areas in order we know the safety and the danger areas that we should stay stay or to report in our local authority. And after the occurrences of the landslide or the coastal erosion, we should wait for the further announcement for the local authorities in order we know the official announcement if we go evacuate or leave the play or the air leave the area for good. Now, going moving on for or jumping in for the man activities that we trigger during or triggers the natural hazards. Here are the examples for geological, hydrometeorological, marine, and coastal. I would not read for that. And quick reminder for discussing this one, if you know someone that do these activities that triggers the natural hazard, please make sure to stop it because it will trigger more natural hazards of it. Yeah, that's it for the examples. We have it improved oil recovery, the iron ore smelting and processing petrochemical industry. And for the marine coastal, we have here oil spills, dumping of waste. Now, on how moving on or the last part of the raising of this discussion, which is mitigating these two ways we can ensure the occurrence and make sure the lessons of the occurrences of the natural hazards. Now, mitigating, we have the geological. The examples for geological, which is the installing a ledge guards on shelves and fasten build. Big. What do we mean by installing ledge guards on shelves and fasten big? To ensure the roofs of our area so we can have the prepared when earthquake strikes if for the falling debris. Now for the hydrometeorological, we should implement some appropriate adaptation and mitigation measures. What do we mean by that? By having a flood defenses that defend the flood areas or the prone for the flood areas so we can able to avoid the destruction of the floods. And also the deforestation for the natural event defenses like trees, and one of the examples of that is mangroves. So we can see most of the lakes or the rivers, we can see some mangroves because or mangroves is living on or mostly live in the lakes or mostly the waterlands. And lastly, for the marine and coastal, we should provide or build some dune systems or beach fields and erosion structures, control structures. What do we mean by that? It's because we should able to stop the causes of the erosion in the coastal areas. Now, I found some quotes that give some encourage or encouragement to our community or to our listeners on this video. It says here that we cannot stop natural disasters, but we can arm ourselves with knowledge. So many lives wouldn't have to be lost if there was enough disaster preparedness. She mean that having having a preparedness or having an awareness when it comes to natural hazards or disasters cannot yeah mean encouragement that gives encouragement that gives enough knowledge enough knowledge in order we should not lose or sacrifice a lives when disaster strikes or hazard strikes. Now, but before we end this video, I'd like to say or ask some questions for you guys. Have you ever been in the path of a natural disaster? And if you have some answer, just comment down below. You can comment your answers right there. And and my answer for that is obviously yes, because I've been experienced that occurrences in the middle of the class. It's way back, it's 3 years or 4 years ago. And in that occurrence, we just stay calm and never panic. And we also follow the simple procedures to ensure our safety. And that's my answer for that question. If you have guys, just comment it down below. And lastly, and we've been doing these practical ways of coping and understanding the mitigation of natural hazards, such as having the preparations before the natural hazards occurs, when we are prepared when disaster strikes, and doing the simple procedures that we must do during the disaster strikes, and so we can stop this we can stay safe from these disasters. And finally, we all know what happens after a disaster occurs, just having to make another preparations if still strikes again. And that is for my last word thing or said in this video. That is for guys. I hope you enjoy this video. If you enjoyed this video, just comment down below, and we will make another video of this. And that's it, folks. Peace.